So yes, I will present you how to write easily an application in Spec. So I'm Christophe Demaret. I'm an engineer at INRIA and working on Faro since many years now. So I did this presentation with the support of Esteban that cannot be with us today. So just a reminder of what is Spec. Spec is just a framework for describing user interfaces in Faro. It fits for a wide range of user interfaces. Most Faro tools are now written in Spec. I should say all Faro tools, but there is still one that is annoys a bit us, but it will come. So the fundamental principle behind Spec is we want to reuse user interface logic and compose visual elements. So we build user interfaces by reusing and composing smaller user interfaces, and we configure them as we need. So just an overview. You do not need to remember everything, but we have Spec applications that will talk with your domain. An application can be styled, but the main thing is an application has many presenters. It's the central object in Spec. So presenters are composed of other presenters or widgets. They have a layout to arrange them so that they display nicely. And presenters, they also talk to your domain objects. Sorry. The idea behind Spec is that you describe your user interface once, and after, you have many backends that you can use to render your graphical user interface. So here you have an example of the Morphic backend. So it's the same presenter written in Spec, rendered by Morphic. And the second one is the same presenter rendered with GTK. So Toplo is not yet there, but it will come very soon. And the idea is that we do not want to rewrite every tool of Faro. So now let's write a small Spec application so that you have a feeling on where to start and how to do that. So for this ESUG talk, I took a small application. It's an image annotation application. You know, an image could have some metadata. For example, to know the photo, the picture, where does it come from, all the parameters, and so on. So it is called EXIF. So I will show you a bit what it is so that you understand. Yes. So here is the application. You can browse your file system, you select a directory, you can see files, and then you can select images. So you can see images, and here at the bottom, you have all the image metadata. You have different keys. They are standardized with the value. So you can see everything. So it's not difficult. And after, you have some buttons. For example, if you want to tag one picture to say, this picture is related to the Expo 1, just an example, you can click on it, and then you can see, it is there. Or I can just reset this metadata. I have a confirmation box. OK, now it's gone. I can put it back. OK. So really simple. Okay, I already talked about that. So now, where do we start? We could start from the application, but it's easier to start from a basic presenter, so we will start from there. So we will need to define a presenter, and a basic presenter, you need at least two different methods. You need one method that is initialize presenters. There you will define all the sub-presenters or the widgets you want to use in your presenter. And you need to define a layout, its default layout. You could have many other layouts, but just a simple presenter. You define that, and if needed, then you can connect your presenters. So here it is an example. So I have a spec color code presenter that inherits from a spec presenter. It has some slots, and that's all. So in spec, you could inherit, your presenter could inherit either from spec presenter or spec presenter with model. So what is the difference with both? You should use a spec presenter with model when you want to react to changes of your model. If your model changes, then your presenter will have a trigger and will update automatically. So while the presenter is open, an event changes the model that was used to build the UI. Then the method model change will be called at each change of the model. So in this method, you can define how to update the presenter accordingly to react to the change. So here is a small presenter. You can see it's just a presenter to present the metadata. It's just a subpart of the whole application we saw before. So it's the metadata presenter. It inherits from presenter with model. We have one slot. It is the table. So it is a table presenter that is there. So let's show a bit more. So now, how do I initialize this presenter? I will first instantiate a new table. So it's just a shortcut that will instantiate a spec table presenter. I am saying that I have two different columns. The first one will be a string table column with a title key, and it will be evaluated with a block. So my presenter as input, its model will be a collection of associations. So I just want to have the association key to be displayed. And for the second one, it is also a string column, and I will only display the value of the association. So it's really simple. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So now my widget and my presenter are instantiated. I can define the layout. So I create a method default layout. There is a basic layout that is called specbox layout. I can say it's top to bottom or left to right. So this one, it's top to bottom. I will first add a label. You see, image metadata, it is there. And I do not want it to expand. What does it mean? If I say true there, here the label will take the whole width of the presenter. So by saying expand false, I just will get the minimum size of the presenter. Then I add the table. Okay. So now the presenter update. Why do I need to update my presenter? Basically because my data change. So what to update? I want to set the data used by my presenter widgets. Here it will be the table. So if you use a spec presenter, you will need to define the behavior in update presenter method. If you use a spec presenter with model, it will be the model change method. For the metadata presenter, we inherit from a spec presenter with model, so we define model change. So what do? We just need to set items to the table. So I ask my model, if it is nil, it will be an empty array. If it is not nil, I will just grab the metadata and get the association. That's all. And after, I can just define an example class method to instantiate my presenter on some data and just open my presenter. So I will show you how to do that. Oh, sorry. Oops. It is there. So let's do it. So I have a spec presenter with model, and it will be ESUG spt metadata presenter. Okay. So I said I need to initialize widgets. Sorry. Initialize presenters. I need a table, so new table. Up. And to go a bit faster, I will just copy paste. I presented there initialize presenter. No, not this one. This one. Up. Faster. Okay. So I want an instance variable for it. I will just format it. Okay. So I have this one. Now I need to implement the default layout. So SP box layout, top to bottom. Image, okay. I will add my table, and it is done. Okay, and model change, table items. So it's model, I need to access the metadata and grab the associations. Sorry. Let's do it like that, and I will just grab the class method for the example. Yes? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So you see, it's kind of what I needed, but as you can see, I forgot here the expand false. And now it looks a bit better. Okay? So, now coming back to the presentation. Okay. We can improve a bit the thing, because if you look there, the open presenter is open in a window and it does not have a good title. So how to do that? On my presenter, I can define a method initialize window. It will give you the window presenter as parameter. On this window presenter, you can set the title, define the size of the window, etc. Now, we have different components. We need to communicate between all these components. So, in this application, you have different presenters. There is the directory presenter that is on the top left, the file presenter at the bottom left, and you have a big presenter with the image and just below the metadata presenter. So how does it work? The directory presenter, when you select an item, so you have a method when selected item change do, you can define your behavior. What it will do, it will just set the selected the items of the files presenter. On the file presenter, it's the same. When you select an item, it will set on the image presenter the selected file. And if you want to check what does selected file change, what we do, we just fetch the selected item in the list there, and we set the model of the image presenter by building it with the selected file. So it's quite easy. We have different ways to do that. The first one is with this API. When selected item change, etc. You have a lot of different methods, but you have also a different mechanism in Spec that I find very nice. It is called transmissions. The idea is that a presenter has a default input port and a default output port. Sometimes they are the same. So the idea is that a presenter A can transmit information automatically to a presenter B through the different ports. So if I want to rewrite what was done on the previous slide, I can tell directory presenter, transmit your default data. So for Spec presenter with model, the default port will be the model. For my directory presenter, it will be the directory. I want to transmit to the files presenter, but not the selected object directly. I just want to transform it. So I can define a block. What I will get is a directory wrapper. On this wrapper, I will grab the file reference, and I want to get files from it. So when I will select a directory on the directory presenter, I will automatically get a collection of files transmitted to the files presenter. It's the same for the files presenter. I want to transmit to the image presenter, and the selection will be the file. I want to transform it to get an object, my image metadata, for the specified file. So time is short, so I think for this one I will skip the demo. Is it okay for now? Another concept we have, so you can define all your presenters and combine them, defining communication between the presenters. And at the end, you have this object, a spec application. So you should define a class that inherits from spec application. It will be the application entry point. You have a start method where you will instantiate your presenter. You just pass yourself the application as parameter, and you can open it. So it's the entry point of the application, but not only. What does the spec application is that for you, it handles the state of your application, the configuration, if you have resources, for example, icons. Spec application is not a presenter. It has a reference to all presenters, all windows that are open, but it's not a presenter. There you can configure the backend you use, the theme, yes, fetch icons, and also it provides an API for UI interaction. For example, if you need to ask confirmation or to just display an information to the user. Just before the end, I will, how much time? Yes, 5 minutes. I can show you a bit more how to do that. What would be nice would be to have the image metadata presenter. Up, not class. Here I need an image presenter. Again, I will initialize presenters. So image will be an image presenter. I will also have a metadata presenter. Here, for sure, there is no shortcut for it, but what you can do is to use self instantiate and your presenter. So here it's ESUG. OK. Layout. Box layout. So add image. And add data presenter. OK. We'll go a bit faster. just want this example. Sorry. Just an example, I just grab an image on the disk and I build an image metadata for it. What I forgot to do, it is there. I got a bit fast. When model change, I forgot to check if it is nil or not. So if nil, up, if not nil. Okay. So I have my presenter. What I forgot to do here so I have the layout, initialize presenter, but I forgot to define important method, model change. So it's really a simplified version of it, but yeah, it will be okay. Here, what I have, I only define the image, but I have also some other label and some buttons. So let's do that, and now should be better. Okay, so this one is not so nice. It's because when I define the presenter, new image, I need to say that I want an auto scale of the image. Okay, class side, example. Should have worked. What did I forget? Let me check. Auto scale true. So it's now almost okay. So I wanted to show you a bit more, but time is short. What I can show you in the full presenter there is here we can define more different types of presenters. You have labels, image, buttons. Here I define a button expo1. When I will click on it, I will trigger an action that is defined with a block there. And I can do more things, for example, in model change. No, not this one. This one is very simple, but it just the idea. So, just to conclude, thank you. If you want to have more information, there is a great book that is wrote by Koen and Stefan. So there is a link there. And if you like the application, I put it on GitHub. There is a link to it. And it is not yet there, but I will write a tutorial step by step to reproduce this application. So thank you very much. If you have questions.
We have time for one question. Meanwhile, he connects. Okay.
So maybe it's a stupid question, but why is an application not a presenter, or what's a so that it's just a top presenter which composes sub-presenter and that can be stacked ad infinitum? So why is a application not a presenter? So you did many things also on the presenter side, so you can just compose the application out of sub-presenters and then compose on the next higher level, and can embed every application as another sub-presenter into another application. So why is an application not a presenter?
It's a different concept. The application is there to hold the configuration of the application. It's not a UI component per se. For the application, you just define the main presenter, and after there is a flow. But the responsibility in Spec of the application is just to hold the configuration of the application. What is the backend? How will you fetch resources? What is the style of the application, and so on.
Okay, thank you very much, Christophe.